Hello everyone, thanks for joining. This video is going to cover the second project in the smart home kit that we have available to us. And in this video, feel free to pause and work with me as we work towards a solution. Please make sure you have watched the video on the flowchart to understand the logic and idea behind this project. And after that, go ahead, build the circuit, and let's get coding. Okay, so remember, pause throughout the video if you need to. We're going to be using a temperature sensor in this project to drive a fan, turning a fan on or off. And as it displays the temperature, as it questions the temperature, it's going to display the temperature for us so that we can visualize it as well. So we can actually see what is the current temperature in the room. So the first thing we need to do is set up and initialize our OLED screen with a height of 64 pixels by a width of 128. The OLED screen is nice and easy. It has its own menu. So we're just going to click on it and we're going to initialize it. We're going to put that in the start block and we're going to initialize it with a width, a height of 64 and a width of 128. So these are backwards from the example I gave you on the handout. So please note that. The height is 64, the width is 128. Then we're going to go into the forever loop and we're going to do some basic coding similar to the last project. Okay, so we're going to create a variable called temperature. So let's make a variable and call it temp, just shorthand for temperature. And we're going to set the temperature to the temperature sensor. So the sensor itself is under SmartHome. We're going to grab the value of the temperature in Celsius. And we have that temperature sensor plugged into pin 2. Okay. Next, we're going to go into the OLED screen and clear it. This is an important concept whenever you use an OLED screen with these microelectronics, is to clear the screen to get ready for your next write when you actually display information. You have to get rid of the information that's already there. So we're going to get rid of the information on a screen. We're going to clear it, and then we're going to show some information. So let's go back into OLED, grab the show without new line string, and drag that in. And in there, as a string value, so something like a word, we're going to write in temperature with a colon. We're then going to duplicate that line, plug it in, and rather than showing the temperature string a second time, we'll go into variables and grab the actual temperature variable. So really quickly, what's happening here is we're taking, oh, and I can see a mistake. Let's get rid of that. I made a mistake there, sorry. So let's go into OLED and we need to show with a number because the temperature sensor is going to come back as a number. Okay, so let me just fix that mistake right there. Okay, so notice the difference, string and number. That's very important because what I was about to say before I noticed that error is that the temperature sensor is going to return back a number and store it in the variable temperature. And then we're going to display that number on our screen. Okay, so now we need to say if the temperature is too hot, turn on the fan. Okay, so I used the word if. That's a condition statement or a conditional statement. So we're going to go to logic. We're going to grab the if block and pull that out. And then we're going to ask ourselves with a comparison block, is the temperature greater than a value? So that's this middle one here. Put that in. We're going to ask, is the temperature, so variables, temperature, temp, and is it greater? And let's say 20 degrees. Okay, so is the room warmer than 20 degrees? You could also use 30. It's up to you what you want to use. If this comes back as true, imagine a big fan in the room. You'd want some kind of notification that a fan is about to turn on, especially if you're sitting next to it. So let's go ahead and go into the music and grab the play melody bading. Okay, so that one is down here. We're going to play the melody and we're going to go bading. Let's see, it's in here somewhere. There it is. And we're going to only do that once. Actually, you know what? Yeah, just once. We'll do it once rather than forever. So we'll do it once and it'll notify us. Then we're going to digitally turn the fan on. We need to turn the fan on by setting a digital signal of 1 or true. So we're going to come over here and we're going to scroll down and we're going to go to our pins. And we're going to click on that and we're going to find the digital write pin. Okay, that's the block we need. And we're going to digitally write pin 1, that's where our motor is connected, to a value of 1. You'll notice that the slider only gives me 0 and 1, 0 being off and 1 being on. Then we're going to go grab a pause block. So basic, pause, and let's wait for 5 seconds. So 5,000 milliseconds. Then we got to turn our fan off. So let's digital write pin 1 to pin 1 to 1. Let's duplicate that block, save us some effort. And let's set it to 0. That's off. And then let's wait. Just give it some time to cool down so that the fan can actually slow down. And we'll just set that to 500 milliseconds, half a second. And that's good because now if the temperature comes back as greater than 20, so it's warm, the microbit will emit a sound through our sensor bit and it'll make a little budding sound, nice and audible, so an output for us. And then it'll turn on the pin at pin 1. So it'll turn it on by setting its digital value to 1. So that'll send power to the fan. It'll wait 5 seconds, then it'll turn itself off and wait half a second. So the fan will try to cool down the room. Otherwise, let's say we have a mistake in our code, we can click on this little plus, which gives us an else block, so something that happens otherwise. And we're just going to add a little safety piece in here. We're going to duplicate this turn off, and we're going to put it in there, just to make sure that our fan stays off and doesn't turn on by mistake here and there. And that's it for this code. So now when you go to test it and you download this code to your microbit, you can warm up the temperature sensor by holding it in your hands. If we weren't experiencing the pandemic of COVID-19, I would say like breathe on the sensor. That would warm it up. But just try using your hands or just try putting it under a light source. That'll heat it up artificially. And if you have a hard time getting your code to run, you could even set this value to something lower, like 10 degrees Celsius. It should make a sound. The fan should turn on. Then the fan should turn off and cool down. And then it should come back up here and probe again. So you can have a little bit of fun with this by playing around with the temperature variable or actually holding the temperature sensor in your hand and then letting it go and seeing how long it takes to cool down. And you can actually direct the temperature, you can direct the fan directly at the temperature sensor so that as it turns on, the fan tries to cool the sensor down. Okay. This whole time, you should also be able to see the temperature on your OLED screen. Give it a try. These first 2 videos are a little bit longer than usual. You're getting used to using these block-based coding systems with sensors. So there's a lot going on here. So I want to make sure everything's nice and well explained. Okay, so thanks for following along. Hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully you can get your project working. Again, if you get stuck, call me over.